Thank you. So, fashion and luxury always been synonymous with creativity. One of my favourite quotes on creativity comes from William Plower, who was the editor at Faber and Faber for many years. He said, "Creativity was the power to connect the seemingly unconnected." Well, for those of us who know DREST a little bit, it's really a sort of a masterclass in connecting the seemingly unconnected. For all those people here today who are either unfamiliar with it or might be hearing about it for the first time, how do you describe DREST?
It's complicated, but I've heard the word hybrid, I've heard so many sort of incredible words mentioned today. And I think what's interesting about DREST is in it we have brought together two worlds that at first glance may not seem like they fit together very well. We've created a platform that basically brings together the world of luxury fashion and the world of gaming. Two very unlikely bedfellows at very first thought. And people are calling it the world's first shoppable and interactive styling game. But if I think back to when I had those first sort of thoughts about the worlds of gaming, I possibly don't look like your average gamer in your head. It really was actually when I was still at Bazaar. And I think between my time at Bazaar in a very traditional publishing house of Hearst, then moving on to Porter, which was published by Net-a-Porter, I think during that time, I've really just, as an editor, you're sitting there, you're listening to your reader, or at Net-a-Porter, you're listening to your customer. Of course, another massive partner is your brands. And I think that what we've really tried to do with DREST is really listen to all those challenges, a lot of the challenge that everyone's been talking to about today, about sustainability, about reaching that, I can't call them Gen Zs. Jenny, what have you done to me?
Young people.
Young people. How do we talk to those audiences? And I think with DREST, it's really a case of bringing, for me, gaming was fascinating when I stumbled upon the world of gaming, because gaming is about interaction. And what does that audience, what do Gen Zs want to do? What do millennials want to do? What do we want to do? We want to interact. We want to, for certain audiences, Jenny talked about the stylists, the experimentalists. We want to express ourselves. This is an era of self-expression. And I find it so exciting, having watched social media, seeing the art directors, the video directors that came, there was audiences of people who just have a hunger for creativity. So as much as we're a game, we're also an amazing creative platform that allows people to express themselves. And basically people come onto the platform. I'm going to try and do a live demo a little bit later, which is another trend, watching people play games. But really what it is you come in as a stylist, and the idea is that you have access to all the real brands, real people, real talent, real product, real-time content feed. Somebody the other day called us like sort of a Vogue.com or an Elle.com on acid. You come in, you read the story, you're inspired by the story, and normally you're left at that moment. Maybe you go to buy, but what happens if you just want to play and experiment? So what we do is we have an editorial content feed, and at the end of it, you've read your story, you've learned about the brand or about the specific product or whatever we're talking about, a person, a cause, a supermodel, whatever it might be. And from that, then it's like, now, let's see what you do. And effectively, I wanted people to have the tools that I had as an editor.
Yeah.
I could cast supermodels, I could travel to amazing locations, I could work with the most beautiful product in the world, and from all the amazing luxury brands. But how could I give that? How could we democratize that experience and allow other people to express through a platform?
And from your description there, what you've also done to the previous speaker is you've removed a lot of friction across different types of experiences. I mean, I'm sort of fascinated, as lots of us here are, around gaming as a genre, because it isn't an immediately obvious sort of genre to bring fashion and luxury into. Can you bust some of the myths for us around gaming? I have a 14-year-old stepson at home who conforms to the cliche of a male teenage gamer. It's not really the sort of reality around the numbers, is it?
Yeah, and that's what sort of has blown me away. I mean, even since I took the step a year ago, literally a year ago today, to leave my sort of long-standing job and career as an editor-in-chief, was just watching gaming over the last 10 years. It's completely shifted. It's now actually, I think it's due to be about $110 billion industry by the end of this year. Wow. It now has audiences that are bigger than Hollywood, TV, and music audiences combined. It's a massive audience. And also, interestingly, since the rise of this, 63% of gamers are women.
Wow.
And everybody thinks it's the kind of, it's that younger generation, but it's definitely between the kind of, we're finding between 20 and about 35 is our sweet spot, which is obviously a really important demographic for luxury. And also to Jenny's point, you know, the luxury consumer of the future. So what we've really tried to do is we want to kind of not own the luxury consumer, but understand the luxury customer of the future, give amazing insights into brands, but also delight and entertain the existing customer. Yeah. Like, I remember when I moved from Harper's Bazaar to Net-a-Porter, and people sort of said, oh, you've sold out, you know, you've sold out, you've gone into, you know, editorial and e-commerce. They felt like sort of, they felt it was just like church and state. It was like the old advertising editorial. But all I felt from Net-a-Porter was that I made a story, I would create a beautiful story and someone could go and shop it. It was frictionless. For me, it was just adding another level of service. And I think if you can have the entertainment and the expression, and then you can go through, everything you see in DREST is shoppable. Some elements as we go forward will be of seasons old, but that's like life. You have your old season clothes in your wardrobe. But I was just really excited about what gaming allowed us to do, or gamification. And I think we've got to, it's interesting, like the word gamification. Your BA app, that's a game. How many points? Do you really care about going up to the next card? You're just sort of watching the arrow go around. There's lots of elements of gamification in our everyday lives. But what it allows interaction, it allows community. And I think it was interesting for me on social with luxury, and actually with luxury fashion. Luxury beauty is very accessible for everyone. If you want to be an influencer of any stature on an Instagram or a Facebook, and in fashion, you really have to have access to the clothes. You have to have access to the product. And that's because either you work at a fashion magazine, or you're fairly wealthy, or you have to look a certain way. And I love the idea of democratizing that kind of fashion, the discovery of fashion, and as Jenny, sorry, I'm just going to talk to Jenny for the rest of this talk, but as Jenny said, the idea for someone to express themselves by putting themselves, showing that their creation, using Gucci, using brands that maybe they can't yet afford, but have maybe found an affinity to, or so it's really that sense of like.
Well, yeah, and gaming's always been about creating a sort of parallel experience, but I think what you've done is you've taken it one step further, and you've then moved that into the real world. This might be a good moment actually to show people the platform I did. Can we play the film? And give people a bit more colour around everything you're describing.
It's very loud, so I hope it's not too loud.
Just while we're trying to set up the live demo, I wanted to talk a little bit about definition and categories and categorizations. I think, you know, human beings use categories as a navigational tool. There are so many things competing for our attention, so they're normally very useful and very efficient at helping us know what one thing is and one thing isn't. But you're dealing with actually quite a number of different ideas from different categories. Have you been looking at that from a language perspective? Because it doesn't seem to do justice to say it's about gaming. It doesn't seem to do justice to say it's just about e-commerce. How can you sort of help people understand just how many sort of confluent parts there are to it with new categorization?
Well, this is very fortunate because we came up with our category about 10 days ago, which is very exciting. So one of the challenges of this is that it is complex because we're bringing so many elements of reality into here. Yeah. Being the editor, of course, I can't bear it that you're seeing that video on that size of screen, because it's the avatar should be seen this side when you can see pores and flaws and all the challenges. But also because our next brand video, actually what we're doing within the game is we're bringing in 7 of the world's top supermodels who will come in as themselves into the product. So actually our next brand game that we're actually, I say shooting because it's a virtual shooting in Paris tomorrow actually, will actually feature this kind of mix between the real and the virtual. And it was interesting, when we actually first met at the Walpole dinner, and I explained everything to Al, and it was, it's confusing. There's quite a lot of elements and strands to kind of weave in. We've got real supermodels. I haven't even begun to talk about philanthropy, sustainability, all these kind of different aspects that are kind of baked into this. And it was actually my other half who said, I cannot bear listening to you trying to explain this to someone at a cocktail party. I was trying to explain it to Patrick Stewart, of all people, Mr. Star Trek, find new frontiers and all that. And he said, you've got to come up with something for it. What is this new thing? And I was thinking, how do I describe DREST? And then to your very point, I thought, no, let's talk about how we describe the category. So I was thinking about it, and we've come up with a new way of talking about it, which is just real, virtual, real, this kind of RVR, which is a concept which is how we now describe it when we're talking about it, which is very much this sense that everything starts in the real. It's real brands, real products, real supermodels, real news, real philanthropic causes, all these different aspects. We then create it with our technical stuff, and we create it into this beautiful virtual space where all the product is recreated virtually, all the supermodels are recreated as themselves. There's hair, makeup. I've got Sam McKnight and Josh Wood, 2 of our finest hair talents, who've never actually worked together. They're working together virtually for the very first time. So you'll see incredible hair. We've got Mary Greenwell doing all the makeup for all the avatars. All these different elements of reality are coming into this space. We will then create them virtually. We wrap the clothes around the body. We have an amazing partnership with Farfetch, where we pull a lot of the product from, but we also work directly with brands as well, so that we can kind of, Gucci's a big partner of ours that comes here, that we're working with at the moment. They worked on our early access, which is the stage we're in now, and they're also working with us on our launch in March. But in this kind of space where everything's virtual, that's where the brand storytelling can be done with no cost. There's no production cost. This is user-generated content. One Gucci jacket can come in here and can be styled 10,000 ways. It's this beautiful creative virtual space. It's democratic because the cost to enter it's small virtual currencies. It's very, very micro transactions, but it's also very sustainable. There's no production costs allowed with it. And it just really allows people to come in and discover, get closer to the brand they love, learn about the talent. We're working with film studios, all these kind of different elements. We can play it all virtually, but then out the other side, it has real impact in real life.
That's fascinating. So are you able to sort of triangulate that, the brands yourself and the audience? So if you were creating a virtual SKU of a particular object and you could see high engagement rates around that versus another one, are the brands then able to use that insight to be able to affect production or order numbers?
It's a key part for us, and we did our first partnership, as I say, was with Gucci, and we did a series of challenges with them, and they were able to really work with us very closely to say, this is the product I want to be surfaced. So when you come in to do a challenge, often it'll have a little thing called a requirement, and you can't enter that challenge unless you've used that product or you've used that brand. So for when we worked with Gucci, there were a couple of handbag line. It was the Sylvie bag. My publisher Tess is sitting there. We had the Sylvie bag. They wanted to have a focus on sunglasses in another challenge, and so literally you can encourage people. They cannot enter the challenge until they've actually played with your product. So it's very, very specific, very, very drilled down. But of course, we had had about 10 colorways of the Sylvie bag. And even during our early access period with, you know, relatively small numbers at this stage while we're still testing and building up to our launch period, which will run from March to June, we were able to offer them the most incredible insights about which territories liked which color bags and which challenges resonated here. So I think the data that we can get about customer behavior is so fascinating. One little personal anecdote is that I have a 16-year-old stepdaughter who lives in the country, red hair, quite angular, a little bit awkward and geeky. Suddenly, she lives in the country, never really engaged with fashion yet. She's probably about to. And suddenly she asked me for a Gucci iPhone case for Christmas. And I said, oh, okay, right, that's okay, let me look. Then I looked at her phone. I said, I'll have a look on your profile. And of course, she'd discovered that like Gucci was her brand. That was what her natural, and it made sense. I look at her, she looks like she's come off the Alessandra Michele's runway. But it's that element of understanding customer behavior before they've even made a real purchase. And I think that is incredibly exciting.
That's also fascinating, I think, from an access to brand perspective. So from the work we do with our luxury brand partners, there's still an orthodoxy around sort of 20th century marketing where you create beautiful objects or images or content and you push some of it out and you try to get some earned media around social. But what you're sort of suggesting there with that anecdote is that there is a platform that might be the first access point for a new consumer into that brand's world. So the brand then finding the right creative expressions of their brand world in a new and emerging sort of platform like this is a really interesting sort of challenge and expression.
Well, it's interesting because if you look at sportswear brands, they are much better at having these kind of interactive, like integrating it, talking to the customer, letting them feel like they're part of their world before they've even stepped into it, before they've even made their first product. It's really, really hard with luxury. It's hard with some channels. Like I look at Snapchat, and I remember actually being in Italy for the launch of a big store, and it was, I won't say that mention the brand, but the brand owner was there from the house, the designer was there, and they gave Snapchat to an influencer from LA. The next morning, everyone in the social media team was fired because it was disrespectful. It didn't respect the codes of luxury. So the challenge for us with DREST was how do we create a space that is luxury, that has all the codes of luxury, and yet it's still interactive and it's fun and playful and good. And when I do my demo now, of course, the thing I'm most frightened about is when I go to the look creator and I see some of the looks, and it's the editor and me saying, no, let it be democratic. Let's see what people are doing with your clothes. But it's interesting, and I feel like what's been so exciting for me is that from beginning of last February to this February, we've been around the world doing a bit of a global roadshow, and we now have over 160 of the world's top brands on board, from Valentino, Chloe, Stella, Burberry, all of these, Loewe, all of those brands on board. And what's been amazing has actually the mindset. I think it was harder for me to go and pitch Porter than it was to pitch DREST.
Really?
And I think that really shows that we are expanding and opening our minds. And I think a couple of people have made the point, I think Kira made that point, is be where your customer is. And as an editor, I always like, well, what does my women want? What does my women want? Yeah. And that's what you have to think is, what does my audience want and where are they? If the audience was on the paper plate in the moon, that's where I'd be serving them content. But they're not. They're playing games. Yeah. And I think and I've always, as an editor, that's the one thing that there's many things I take from being an editor into this role, but it's just listen to your women and always, or listen to your reader. We've actually got 14% of people playing DREST are actually men, which is very fascinating. So I think that's a key part, and actually it's very interesting going into the world of gaming, whereas, the tech releases that we have, we're not quite there, but we're just moving to a new system where we will do this. Yeah. But every week, you iterate, you test, you change, you listen to the data. And so our product, what I'm going to show you now, is just so far away from where it will be in 6 months even.
Minimal viable
some of that's because of our roadmap. We just haven't finished, we've only got to a certain stage in it. But we're going to be listening. And that, for me, when I went to Net-a-Porter, the biggest thing for me was, before it was like, you had a vision, you were editor-in-chief of a magazine, this is my vision, this is my customer. And I loved Net-a-Porter when I actually got in a room with my customer and I talked to her and I understood her. And now this is a kind of a way of doing that virtually on and on a mass scale to a mass audience.
I mean, I think that's another fascinating thing, because that really talks to me, at least, about a new metabolism. Because as the industry continues to grow and expand, as it has opened its doors to a much broader constituent of audiences, particularly over the last sort of 10 years, and you have the whole sort of phenomenon around the high-low. I mean, Remo Ruffini actually was quoted in one of the platforms recently saying, you know, it's no longer enough to talk to my consumer once every 3 to 6 months. I have to talk to my customer every single day, and I have to interest that customer. So the bar just keeps getting higher and higher. And one of the things that we were discussing last night were just around being distinctive.
Yeah.
And I think new technology and constantly being able to optimize and improve and express your creativity as a brand is really becoming the sort of the new norm. And I think what's interesting about DREST is that you're creating an even more frequent opportunity for those brands to be able to do that. Do you think we can do the live demo? We can? Okay, great.
I feel like I'm gonna...
Well, good luck. Worth pointing out that one of the top 2 verticals on YouTube is people watching people gaming and commenting on that process. So this is definitely a world's first for luxury.
Oh my
There's a
God.
live gaming commentary.
Oh, thank you. Sorry, it's all my pictures.
Am I in the way there?
Is that working? No, that's not it, I don't think.
There
we go.
Oh,
Bravo.
perfect. You also reward people for coming back to your platform every day, which is really fun. I've never done this before. This feels very strange. But anyway, I will. Helen, this is for you. First gaming Phil. So basically, when you come onto DREST, you'll have your content feed. As you can see, it's gearing up for Fashion Week on Friday. So we have a challenge around Eva Chen. We also have another piece of another factor in gaming that is really, really massive is reward video. So I will earn myself 5,000 DREST dollars for playing this video. I don't think my sound is on my phone, but anyway, that's probably a good thing. For watching this video with Tabitha Simmons and Puma. And this is actually really exciting. This is one of our big collaborations that we have just done. I think it's interesting, when we went to see Puma, they actually have a head of gaming, and actually on our tours we're now finding that Kering have got some head of gaming in their industry. So this is obviously a trend that people are responding to. So I come in and I have my news feed. What have we got here? Birds of Prey, Margot Robbie returns, and we have a mixture of photo shoot challenges and still lifes. So I think there's one at the, I'm just trying to think. So here we have one. See, we did a freestyle, best of British fashion. And actually we did this we have a little bit of Walpole in here. So this is our little story. Now, these stories are actually, this is, as I say, very early access. So when we launch later on in the year, these stories will actually be, they can go to any length, and they will also have pictures in them. But these are the type of challenges that you can come up with. Sorry, I'll just go to a quick one. I'll do evening wear is always easy and quick. So that's fine. So this is the kind of story that can come in on-trend statement evening wear. If you were, say, a McQueen, you could actually, this could be a challenge that you could sponsor. But it's Valentino's Pierpaolo has subverted the idea of princess-like tall gowns with da-da-da-da-da. And then you read the story, and then you can go on and create your look. So I will come here, and another point of DREST is that we have a lot of diversity. And again, these avatars should not be seen at this size, so please just forgive them. So we have different sizes. We have everything at the moment from sizes from a size 8 to a size 16. We have a new range of avatars coming, non-binary, a whole host of diverse avatars coming, as well as our supermodels who will come in from the 1st of March. This Ayan is one of my favorites. But as you can see, we've worked incredibly hard to make these look very different from the kind of, I don't want to say Korean sex books, but I can't think of anything else. But a lot of them sort of have that sort of quality. And we've worked incredibly hard. And if you can imagine, we're working with some of the biggest supermodels whose images are them. That's their lives and their careers. So we're working incredibly hard with them. So our retouching and everything has to be just perfect. So I can then go and search. I'm just going to search gown to try and make this quick as possible. And I can put her in a Regina Pio gown. I can try on all these different clothes. Sorry, try and find it. nice bit of, and I'm trying to find a nice British one. So I'll find Roland Murray. So as you can see, the rendering of the product is really beautiful. We wrap it around the body. We wrap it around all the different bodies. One of the pieces of information a little bit of feedback we've had already is that people love it, the fact that they can try on a dress and see what it looks like in their size. I remember being at Net-a-Porter and everyone said, why is everyone returning, these pieces? Are they not the right size? Are they not cut the right way? And I said, when you're a size, it's not about whether something fits you. Sometimes it's about whether something flatters you. So I think DREST gives a good idea of how these kind of pieces can work. So I'm here, I'm just settled in a nice Jonathan Saunders gown. I can then go and I can search clutch. Sorry, I'm going to do this super quickly. Do this here, and I can try on a variety of little clutches. If I don't own something, I buy it, and the price that it shows there is the price that it is in real life. And if I really love that clutch by Galvin, I can simply star it, add it to my wish list, and then when I finish gaming, I can go through and do this. I can go through to the purchase path. We also have the ability to change the location, so very sustainable, no flights here. I can go to Greece in a moment, and I can settle in a nice English country garden, which is beautiful. And we have the ability to change makeup, all these kind of, I'll just give her a lip because she looks much better with a lip, this one. And if I can read this space. Anyway, the makeup is beautiful, and again, this is another element that's being refreshed. So once I've finished my look, I submit it. Have I met all the kind of the brief? A bit like me. Have you coming to me? Have you got the credits in? Have you got the right brief in, etc.? So that happens. I'm not going to submit it now because it's going to take too long. I get my initial score, and then it goes out to the community who will then rate it. So, for example, our partnership with Puma and Tabitha Simmons went live on Saturday. And now, this is where it gets scary. This is where I see how everybody in the community has created their looks. Now, we also have another kind of, we have another function, which is our still lives. And this is where people can use the product. We give them little props to play around with. For Tabitha Simmons, this was all about peonies. So the peony is probably something you might see a lot of. So this is the type of still life that a user has created. And I can say, what should I give it? I'll give it 4. So I will do this. I've obviously a rater. This is terrible. Sorry, Natalia, whoever you are. And I can go through and rate the looks and discover them. But when you are in the process of creating a still life, you are literally touching that product. You're touching that trainer. You're moving it around the shape. It's as close as you can get to that trainer as going up and picking it up in a store. And that is what we found our brands have really responded to. And it's just a very, very different way of interacting. Because I haven't got a reward coming to me at the moment, when you do a partnership or you finish a challenge, you also get this beautiful virtual gift box that comes, sort of animates at the end. And so for Gucci, it was like an incredible sort of floral gift box from Gucci, etc. So again, it's that sense of, without going into the store and having that experience, sorry, child there. And then you have the ability, this is me, sorry, I play under a pseudonym for this on this phone. But this is what I did with Tabitha Simmons. I actually used a Stout bag as my background and created this look here. But you can also follow other people. You can look at their style. So if I'm looking at someone and I say I really like this piece, this jumpsuit, I can literally click on it. I actually own it virtually, but if I want to look in real life, I can go straight through to Farfetch, and I can buy it, and I can add it to my bag and be done. So it's a really seamless experience all the way through, and it's fun. And I think that's another piece. Yeah. I might stop sharing because I've never done live gaming before, but I'll do. We're actually talking to some of the editors about Vogue about doing style wars, where we get them to like style on screen against each other, which could be quite fun.
It would be I
can predict.
Just on backgrounds, for example, you showed that variety of backgrounds. Is that the sort of opportunity? Because I'm sort of thinking about the adjacencies in the luxury industry, because of course it's so diverse, from whiskey to hotels to fashion, beauty, etc. Could those, for example, be Belmont hotels in the background? I mean, can you go to that level of specificity?
Well, this is exactly what we do. So this is, for example, is my look for the Gucci challenge. So here, Gucci chose this background, which is a palazzo that's very important to them. And then this is Unya, who's actually a real-life model who you might recognize from some of their campaigns. And so we were able to recreate her I'm just trying to think if I've got other elements, but also when it comes to things like the props, sorry, I'm going through my feed. I should have thought about this before, where I would go, no, I'm going to go to that one. So when we work with a brand, for example, we can really, so we worked on a series of stickers with Gucci. They wanted pianos, they wanted all kinds of different elements, Gucci backgrounds, so we can customize everything. Yeah. So it works really well when you're a brand and you've got like codes of the house that you want to have. If, you know, we're doing a project with Louboutin in Paris Fashion Week, and, you know, you can imagine there's going to be a few red soles on there that you can work with. But we can also work with travel. You know, travel's a really, really big area for us. We can do a beautiful challenge, write about the place, but then everyone will be styling their look in front of your hotel or in some kind of incredible backdrop. So the partnership opportunities are immense. We're working with movie studios. We've got a big project coming up in the summer where we're actually running the backdrops from the movies. People can put people in characters, they can put them in the scenes, they can also dress them for the red carpet. So it's really the sense that they can watch the trailer, earn some virtual money for watching the trailer. So when you come out of DREST, you've probably spent about 30 minutes interacting with that specific project.
An ever-expanding universe.
We swap.
I think we've got...
We're probably out,
but just a couple of... Well, look, I mean, just to finish, I'll finish on a quote. I started on a quote. Arthur C. Clarke said, any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. I mean, that to me, because I'm not from a technical background, just looks magical and fun, and all the things that really make, you know, luxury along with creativity such an interesting sort of part of life and culture. So many congratulations to you, and thank you so much for sharing us with that. Do we have 2 minutes for questions? Yes.
Thank you. Well done. Thank you. Demo. Hi. Hello.
Thank you so much. That's really fascinating. I was wondering, do you think the day will come soon where individuals will be able to have a 3D version of themselves uploaded onto the site instead of using an avatar?
Yeah, absolutely.
Does that exist now? Is it possible?
Yeah, it's possible now. It's whether it can be possible at scale, and it's also the personalization of that. So we have the ability at the moment to place the avatars in the app in 3D, but because of the weight of the information that's coming from the brands, from all the clothing, we would probably need about 9G to operate under in that sort of way. Another issue is that when you're in things like Sims, etc., all the clothes are just sort of patterned, and here at the moment we work with about 3 or 4 pictures of different angles from clothing from Farfetch, from their imagery or from the brand's own imagery, and then we're able to kind of like create it. So at the moment we've really prioritized scale of product. Having worked at Net-a-Porter, I know how important it is to have new product coming on every single day. We're having about 50 new products coming live onto the app every single day. So we've really prioritized that. So there's probably 2 questions there. One is about the 3D avatar, and then one is about yourself. We are absolutely working on the selfie avatar, and we have a couple of tech partners. And actually another piece that's really like struck me about today is, and it was part of the sustainability conversation, but is this sense of collaboration. I love the fact that as soon as you get into the tech sector, they all want to solve your problems. They're not like, I want to own that, or I want to have this. There's a real sense of collaboration. It really struck me about sustainability. Like, there are moments when I think today we will gain a lot more value if we really collaborate with each other to solve the challenges either facing our industry directly or the world directly. So it's a bit profound, but
that's a good point.
Thank you.
You go, you're closer.
In terms of categories, I mean, this is clearly an entirely new category that a customer can shop, which, you know, in its own right could be on the header of a department store. How do you see the purchase of these items alone expanding as opposed to just being a portal to buying in real life, for example?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. In China this year, there was a huge surge in virtual gifting. So I think there is this, I think there is it's kind of a nice tension, I think, between what one owns virtually and what one owns in real life. I remember another light bulb moment for me actually was being when I was still at Hearst, was being at a conference there, and they were talking about the fact that a lot of the reason, all the challenges of fast fashion and high street was because people would post something on social media. So I've worn this skirt here. Somebody's taken a picture of me in this skirt. I never wear it again because it's all my community have seen it. So I think there's a nice tension, and I think we just have to go hand. I think as long as we're just listening to the woman, listening to our audience, staying close to them, and just seeing how that works. I think there's moments for virtual delight. We're working with a couple of designers on couture dresses that could never ever even be, those pieces that go on the catwalk and then they never go into production. So we're going to play with that idea of couture and fantasy, but I still think there's that value in that real purchase and it's interesting actually, one of the elements that we're looking to expand into in the coming is how to weave into our gameplay ways to show people the value of a piece. Why, the Saint Laurent jacket that you wear 20 times, why does that suddenly have more value in real life? So we're always very conscious of playing between the real and the virtual. So it's a kind of tension, but I think it's a playful tension, but it definitely allows great real life product discovery.
Are you, or do you see yourself in the future as a partner to luxury marketplaces, or are you the next iteration of luxury marketplace?
I mean, I think what I've loved about this project is that I feel like we're a partner to everyone we're working with. Certainly, even when we're working with our brands, it's like, what data is interesting to you? What information do you need to know? I didn't really talk about how we're working with talent, but we're working with our supermodels and our film stars and our musicians in a very, very different way. I feel for a long time that there have been, it's been about one brand being dominant, and I love the idea that we can work with a talent can make money out of us as well. So we have all kinds of like intricate affiliate deals where we can allow people to feed into us. So I really hope that we will continue that philosophy and partner with our brands. We partner with our brands directly, and I think we'll just evolve with the marketplace as the years go by, really.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Lucy, for sharing that with us, and congratulations. It is one of the most exciting things I think I've seen for a very long time.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you.